Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Transformational Tuesday, and we're kicking off our healing series. It is Transformational Tuesday, and we're kicking off our healing season. Listen, healing is not the finish line, you guys. It is a lifestyle, okay? It is a lifestyle. And I think that we're going to have a interesting week talking about this concept of healing and what does it mean, and really disrupt some of the narratives that we need to heal fast, we need to get over it, we need to think positive, right? This thing of being, you should be better by now, or you should be open or ready, right? And I think a lot of this really affects the healing process. And if you heard me yesterday, one of the things that I said was that, our bodies are healing every day, right? There is getting rid of cells, it's processing the food that we ate, skin cells are dying, nerves are repairing themselves. So we're in the constant state of healing. And when we can make that a mindset, right? And understand that things are going to happen in life, right? And how do I prepare myself for those things? I think that we will find and choose, to have more joy, to understand that we're not behind, that we're not broken, right? That is a pattern belief that we believe, right? And so I want to welcome you to, this is week 5, okay? This is week 5 of which is healing, right? So for the past 4 weeks, we've been doing, I would say, some deep work, right? We talked about the wrestle that we carry, oh, the weight we carry with the wrestle of control, right? Trying to control the outcomes. We talked about the exhaustion, right? The weight we carried with our exhaustion and really honoring, right? Rest and things like that. We talked about the weight we carry in reconnecting with our identity, right? In a sense, like you have your identity, or you have a identity, something somebody told you, then you create an identity, right? But really tapping into your identity, right? What is that divine, spiritual, what is that humanistic thing that just makes you unique, right? And stepping into that. And then we talked about the weight of grief. All right, the weight we carry with our grief, right? Really talking not the grief of the people that we lost, but more the grief of what was or what could have been. All right. And I thank you guys for showing up. Like I said, um, I feel like your time is your most valuable asset, right? It's a limited resource. All right. We only get 24 hours of it. We only get 24 hours. Everybody gets the same 24 hours. So it's truly how you invest that time, and invest in that time to be a part of this life lesson. I truly appreciate that. Hopefully you've done the work, right? And you've identified the weight that you carry. If you haven't joined the project yet, make sure you join Project Life at Sheila Little /life, right? To join that project. As we wrap up the end of the year, things start to get heavy. And this was a very intentional series because I feel like, so many of us are carrying weight. So let's reconcile those weights. And so that, as we start off or kick off our new year, right, that, there will be some alignment in that. All right. But now, so we talked about all of that, but now we're talking about this healing, right? Now we get to talk about what happens after the weight is released, right? After the therapy starts, after, you had the courage to step into alignment, right? But here's what I need you to know right from the start. All right. Healing is not what social media or culture have told you. All right. Because culture, again, says that healing is something that happens fast. A lot of times when people are uncomfortable with your emotional state, they tend to want you to get over it, right? This whole thinking positive, thinking positive, 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 right? This positive thinking type of thing, and not really balanced thinking. All right. Um, and this notion that, that happened so long ago, you should be over it by now. All right. Listen, today we're disrupting that. All right. Because real healing, you guys, looks different for each one of us, because again, healing is not, it is not about the finish line. It is a lifestyle, you guys. And I know that you're thinking, once I get over this pain, once this happened, then my life will be so better. So better, right? But I want you to think about how many times you said that. How many times have you said, once this happened, once the check comes through, once this happens, then things are going to what? Stay the same, right? Now they may amplify. I believe in ascension, right? But for the most part, circumstances and situations are still happening, right? And you're still, right, wrestling through and balancing and, like I said, repositioning yourself every day. Listen, alignment is every morning you getting up, there's a routine to get you back into alignment, because yesterday could have knocked you off, right? Or, taking these pauses throughout the day because something happened today to knock you off. And that's okay, right? This is okay. But when we make it like, that is something wrong, right? Something wrong, then I think we have a problem. So again, culture has lied about healing, all right? It taught us that healing was this linear thing, right? Like step by step by step. But healing isn't a straight line, you guys. It is just not a straight line. It's actually a spiral. All right. And some days you feel whole, and some days you feel, patterned again or broken again, right? Or in that dis-ease. All right, that is not regression. That is healing. And I love the saying, two steps forward, one step back. Again, a lot of people say one step forward, two steps back, but I say you can't do one step forward and two steps back, because you can't unlearn something. So once you stepped in it, you stepped in it. So it's two steps forward, one step back, and that's the dance, right? You get a little bit of movement, a little bit of traction, and you feel some resistance. And then you get a little bit more traction, and then you feel some more resistance. All right. Another lie that society or culture have said is that healing means that you're over it. All right. You think that, I'm still sad, so I must not be healed, right? Because I still have an emotion, then that must mean that I'm not over this thing. But healing doesn't mean that pain disappears, you guys. It means that the pain that you're experiencing is no longer controlling you, right? It's that you are aware, you acknowledge that today is sad, right? And then you take the driver's seat of what you're going to do with that. All right. So healing, just because you're sad about something, just because an event happened, just say, in your life, and today was the day that came up. Listen, that doesn't mean that you have not healed from that. It just means that healing means that situation no longer controls you, right? You can be healing and still have hard days. All right. Another misconception that I want to bring up this morning is that this idea that you have to be perfect to deserve peace. All right. You think that once you fully healed, then you can rest. And so many of us are postponing our life because it's like, well, I haven't fully got over that. Right. And so I'm trying to wait until I fully get over this thing before I start. And it's like, no, right? That is conditional healing. All right. That is conditional healing. And conditional healing actually keeps you performing instead of actually healing. Listen, you don't have to be finished to be worthy of peace, to be worthy of love. You don't have to get to the finish line of healing to be worthy of these things. It reminds me of my son. He broke his leg, right? And as soon as the swelling started going down, like his leg wasn't all the way healed before he started therapy. All right. He had to start walking on it, right? And putting some pressure on it, right? In the midst of, a little bit of swelling. They started slow, but they didn't wait till the bone actually, adhered itself all the way, right? They understood that this leg had to move so that what is it called, that tissue, right, scar tissue wouldn't build and actually keep him stuck, right? And so he had to go through some pain and some movement, right, prior to his leg fully recovering. All right. And so this idea that you have to fully recover right? Before you can get peace or before you can feel happiness, that's a lie. All right. And that's a lie. And a lot of us are waiting because we still feel the sadness, we still feel the weight of some things. And we're not moving forward because we feel like we're not healed. And so we're not ready. Okay. Another disruption or another idea that I want to disrupt this morning is that healing should look the same for everyone. This is just a lie, right? This is just a lie. We are all unique, okay? And some of us think that, because it took me 6 months to heal, right? Then it should take you 6 months to heal. Or some of us think that, well, it took that person, 3 months to get over it. Then I should, it should take me 3 months. What's wrong with me? Right. But healing is not a timeline, you guys. Your healing is at your own pace. All right. Your healing is at your own pace. So again, I have to say, you have to stop comparing your chapter 3 to somebody else's chapter 10. All right. We don't know what supports they have. We just don't have enough information, right, to even know what they're doing. All right, but we know we have data for you and use that data to what? To support your healing process. And then the last mistruth, right? The last mistruth that I want to talk about is that healed people don't struggle, right? You think that if you're thinking that if I really was healed, then I wouldn't feel this, right? If I really was over it, then I wouldn't feel this pain. If I really was over that, then I would have more happiness. If I was really over that. And this is just not true because healing doesn't make you invincible. All right. It makes you resilient. And what resilience means is that you have the capacity to take on more emotions and do things and get through it. Because again, you're not broken. All right. Healing is a part of the narrative. Healing is a part of life. Okay. All right. And there is a difference. All right. So you're not broken, you're healing, and that is the difference. All right. All right. So if how do I say, so you can't heal, okay, if you keep waiting um until you're perfect. All right, until you're perfect to just okay. That again is conditional, right? Healing doesn't mean that you never feel sad. Healing doesn't mean that you never get triggered. It doesn't mean that you're always okay. Healing means that sadness doesn't consume you. Okay, it means that the triggers don't control you. They serve as an invitation, all right, for you to talk about it, for you to pause, right? And that your learning is okay. Healing means that you're learning that you're learning to be okay with what is, all right? That you're learning to be okay with what is. And when we learn how to not let the feelings consume us, when we learn how to see our triggers as an invitation, when we learn how to be okay with what is, that is where transformation starts to happen, right? That is where we start to turn from the butterfly, I mean, from the caterpillar to the butterfly. All right. All right. Um, a lot of times this shows up, this concept of you not deserving this concept of you not deserving peace or happiness or that you're not ready yet. It shows up when you start to minimize your wins. All right. You know, you made this idea that you were going to set some boundaries or something like that, right? And you're still struggling, right, with saying no. Okay. I love the idea when I'm talking to people about boundaries and I'm walking them through like what a boundary is, right? And then they get this boundary and then they feel like after our session that they're just gonna go in and say what they need to say. And I always tell people that's not how that happens, right? There's an awareness that happens first, right? So it's like you go through, just say you meet a person and or you setting a boundary with a person and that person's triggers, right? They say something to you and that's an invitation to put your boundary up, right? And what happens is that plays in your mind first. It's like, okay, should I say it now? It's like you're having a conversation with you. All right. And then, the situation is over. You didn't set the boundary. All right. But you're aware that that's when I should have set the boundary. Right. But a lot of us will beat up ourselves like, I didn't do it. I should have did it. I must not be good at this thing. But it's like, no, awareness is the first key. And you may do that 3 or 4 times. Then on that fifth time, you like, okay, I need to tell you to stop. All right. Right. Because it's practice, and practice makes better, you guys. So a lot of times in our healing process, we don't give ourselves enough time to practice this new behavior. All right. And so we feel like we're not really healing. Another way that this shows up in our self love, when it's time to love ourselves, is, we apologize for our growth. All right. We will say stuff like, I'm sorry, I'm still working on this. I'm sorry. That's something that I need to, really work on. And it's like, you don't have to apologize for your growth. All right. Your growth happens at your pace. All right. And another place that this happens in our self love is we'll downplay, our healing, right? It's like, I'm really not healed. I'm just getting a little better and things like that. Listen, you keep waiting for a day for all of your pain to disappear. All right. And you call, and all of life is showing you that you're better, right? That this day was a little better than yesterday, but you're not acknowledging it because it's still not enough. And here's the truth: healing does not mean that you will never hurt again. All right. It means that when you hurt, right, you put the tools in place, right, to really support you through that, not run away from the pain, but really embrace the pain. All right, because you are aware, right, that a fracture was there. You're aware that a fracture was there, or that something, caused some dis-ease. And because you're aware of that, then guess what? You step in, you have compassion, right? You don't judge yourself. All of that is a part of the healing process, you guys. Listen, a lot of times we've been taught to measure our healing, um, to measure our healing, all right, by how much, how much we feel like in our mind where we should be. And we talked about this idea of you wanting to be further along than what you think you are. And as a consequence, right, you're really not demonstrating self love. All right. So even when you're healing, you judge yourself for not being there yet, whatever the there is for you. All right. If there is, you know, not being sad, if there is, whatever you've identified there is, right? You're not giving yourself credit for what you have done because you're not there yet. All right. But that mindset, you guys, it keeps you stuck in that self critic, right? It keeps that inner critic speaking to you, right? Instead of being compassionate with yourself. All right. So conditional healing says that I love myself once I'm healed. All right. Conditional healing says I'll rest once I'm better. Right. Conditional healing says I'll be proud once I'm finished and once I get over this. But we have to introduce this unconditional healing, right? And we have to learn to say to ourselves, I love myself while I'm healing. All right. We have to say, I rest because I'm healing. All right. We have to say, I'm proud of the mess because it's evidence of the transformation. All right. In a sense, we have to start honoring our space, all right? Because healing is a lifestyle. And when we can learn how to do that over and over and over again, I really do think that things will, change. They would change, all right? Um, I just have to be honest, right? For years, I thought that healing never meant that I would be hurt, right? That in some way that I was going to outrun pain, outrun disappointment, outrun rejection, that I was going to get smart enough and, rich enough and, you know, uh, cute enough, sexy enough, right? And it was it was it was a lie, right? It was a lie because Um, because when I told myself once I heal from this, or once I get over my mom stuff, then I'll be okay. Once I get over my boyfriend stuff, then it'll be good. Once I process this trauma, you know and really got over that I'll be fine. Once I forgive them and let it go, our relationship will in some way be different, or I'll be free. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened. I did the work. I went to therapy. I got a coach, right? I sat down. I processed my trauma, all right? I forgave. I let go. I reset, all of that, right? And I thought, I must not be healed, right? Because I'm still getting upset, and I'm still crying, and I'm still, you know, uh, yeah, I'm still going through this emotion. But what I realized is that I wasn't waiting to be healed, right? I was already healing. And how I knew that was because of how I started to change. It was like the timeline started to shift, right? That that situation that would have had me crying, or calling everybody, and do you let me tell you what happened, and let me tell you what he said, and let me tell you what she said, and let me tell you this, and and the judgments and all of that. Like, it would be like a situation would happen, and I'm like, okay, I feel it, tears will drop, and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, and I just would walk away, take me a couple of breaths, reset, and move, right? And so what I realized is like, oh, you are healing. All right. You are healing because you're responding differently. You're allowing yourself to feel this thing, but you're not being consumed by it. The difference was before the pain controlled me. All right. But now, right, I control how I respond to the pain. All right. The pain is still there, the hurt, the disappointment, the rejection. All right. It comes throughout the week, sometimes every day. All right. Before, I would be triggered. All right. And the trigger would take me out, like I said, I'm packing up my stuff and I'm leaving. Right. But now the trigger actually slows me down. All right. I get to think, okay, what do I want to do with this information? All right. I see it as an invitation. Okay. Do we need to schedule a therapy appointment? Do I need to talk to somebody about this? All right. So the way I responded became different. All right. Before, I thought healing meant never crying about anything. All right. That person hurt my feelings. I ain't gonna cry about it. But now I know that crying is a part of my healing process. So I'll let myself cry, right? I will sit in those tears and just allow them to flow. And while they're flowing, and while I got the throat, the knot in my throat, and the heaviness on my chest, I am reminding myself that even in these tears, I'm safe, and that these tears is definitely a detox process, right? That they're a detox process. Because again, what I've learned is that healing is a lifestyle. So here's your mirror moment, right? I want you to think about what part of you is still waiting for permission to be proud of how far you've come. What part of you is still waiting for you to give it permission to say, listen, you've come a long way. I see you. All right. Listen, because you don't need to finish to celebrate. All right. You don't need to be perfect to be proud. You just need to honor, right? Honor your healing right now. All right. And your healing, guess what? It deserves to be honored, you guys. It deserves to be honored. So, good morning. Good morning. I love this conversation about healing because, like I said, I think healing is a lifestyle. And if we don't treat it as such, we will get stuck, right? We will get stuck in some patterns. We'll get stuck in some ways and some lies and some mistruths that will actually stunt us and stop us from experiencing life that we so desire and truly deserve, truly deserve. Good morning. Good morning, big little brother. How you doing this morning? Yeah, so my disclaimer again, this is for informational purposes only, right? Educational, informational purpose only. This lesson does not create a therapeutic relation, a therapy or therapeutic relationship with us, right? This is not therapy or medical advice. Listening does not, again, create that relationship with us. This lesson, though, is here to help you shift from conditional healing to unconditional healing. All right. But awareness, we know, is just the first step. So transformation happens when you start to take action. In this conversation on healing, if you start to feel some, dis-ease or anything like that, I would advise you to seek out a professional, right? Seek out a professional to help you navigate, that so that you can start to make healing a part of your daily walk. So let's take our deep breath on this morning, breathing in, I am healing right now, and then breathing out, I don't have to be finished to be worthy. All right. As I welcome you back, we're halfway through the lesson. I want to welcome you back to life, to Project Life, to Life Lessons. Life Lessons is a part of Project Life. Project Life is where we turn awareness into alignment, where we turn healing into a lifestyle, and when we turn theory into practice. So drop a word in the chat. Did I say anything to you that, helped you, that assist you? All right. Hopefully, I did help you to, see healing a little bit differently. All right. As we do our body scan, how I'm feeling this morning, I'm feeling grateful. I got a call from my brother right before the lesson, and he's like, Mama talking. She eating peaches and something. And I'm like, yesterday, my mama had a feeding tube in her nose. Right. And today she's talking. And so I'm feeling grateful. Definitely feeling yeah, I'm excited. Once I get out of the life lesson, I will be up there, and I am excited to, go into room 7, right, and look to see, what she has to say on this morning, what she has to say on this morning, with the understanding that her journey is going to be a long one, right? With the understanding that we're taking it day by day. And I thank my brother so much and my family so much for taking on this philosophy that this is a day-to-day, moment-to-moment situation, in that believing in God, and believing, that God created this body, and that, yeah, and that we're supported, no matter what happens. And so it's been, very much one of those situations where, yeah, like we support each other. So I'm feeling grateful on this morning. How you feeling? While we go to again scan our body. So let's again imagine the sun on the top of our head, pouring down into our body, starting at our feet, right? Feeling the warmth at our feet, grounding us in this mindset of healing. All right. Moving up our legs, right? Just thanking our body for healing itself. We don't even have to do anything, right? Like I said, the cells repair themselves. The body's breaking down, like it's doing so many phenomenal things. All right. Breathing into our stomach, where we often will hold a lot of weight of not being enough. All right. And really allowing ourselves to heal and move that, all right, up our spine, just activating our nervous system. All right. Our parasympathetic nervous system, letting ourselves know it's safe, right? It's safe to talk about this conversation and heal. It's safe to make healing a part of our daily life. All right, feeling that rise up in our chest. All right, where our heart is learning how to rest. All right, is learning how to slow down. All right, and allow life to happen. Up our shoulders, where we carry the pressure, right? The pressure, the weight of life, this need to finish. All right, and life is not something that we finish. All right, life is something that we experience, right? And it's constantly blossoming, and it's opening, right? And it's inviting you in. Okay. And, there's chapters, right? There's chapters that we write, and there's seasons that end, right? There's seasons in life that end. But as we walk out of one season, we walk right into another season. So this idea of finishing, right? You know, it's not something that we do in life. We do it in death. All right. We do it in death. Down our arms, activating our hands on this morning, back up our arms, just, feeling that sunlight warm up our muscles, up our necks, our throats, right? Softening our jaw, all right, releasing that, opening up that chakra, right? So we can talk, all right. A lot of times we didn't get to chance to speak our truth, and a lot of us are still healing from that, all right. but really comforting our throats. So we don't have to apologize. We don't have to apologize for wanting to grow. We don't have to apologize for healing. All right. We don't even have to apologize for how we carry our pain. All right. Because it's ours, right? Our joy, our happiness, our love is ours to carry. And we can carry that unapologetically. All right. Now taking that deep breath as we soften our ears, our eyes, activate our brain out the top of our heads, and then running over our largest organ, which is our skin, just comforting us this morning as we breathe in again. I am worthy of peace right now. All right. And breathing out, I don't have to be perfect to heal. You guys, who is this session for? Who is this lesson for on this morning? It's for you if you've been waiting to finish before you gave yourself peace. This is for you if you judge yourself, right, for struggling. This is for you if you minimize your wins because you're not there yet. This is for you if you think that healing means that you should never hurt again. Listen, this is for you if you've been waiting for permission to be proud of how far you've come. Listen, today is the day to honor your growth, right, and honor your healing. The weight of unconditional love, you guys, that is what the weight of conditional healing, all right, activating unconditional love in this transformational Tuesday, talking about the love of self. Okay, so let's talk about again conditional love that says that you'll rest once you heal, right? You'll love yourself more once you're better, right? That you'll be proud once all of this stuff is over. That's not healing, that's self-punishment. It's self-punishment disguised as self-improvement, and it shows up in our life when we apologize for our growth, when we downplay our healing, when we keep waiting for that day that all our pain will disappear. We think that once we're fully healed, then we'll never feel pain again, or once we're over this person, we'll never get heartbroken again. And we end up building a wall, all right? Not letting anyone in, right? Only, and then we start to feel this sense of dis-ease, this sense of loneliness, this sense of disconnect because we have allowed pain, right, to determine how we move in our life versus building a different relationship with it, versus learning how to have compassion and understanding that pain is a part of our life. All right, it's a part of it. And how do I build a different relationship with it and don't identify myself and judge myself for feeling something that my body was created to feel? All right, listen, conditional healing keeps you trapped. It keeps you trapped critical um, in this critical state of thinking. And when you're stuck there, it's very hard to get a sense of self-compassion. All right, because a lot of us have been trained to measure ourselves by how far we've come. And so we've created a picture in our mind of what our life should look like. And because it doesn't look like that, right, we don't feel like we've healed. All right, we are wrestling with a conditional self acceptance. All right, the belief that you can only be loved or you can only love yourself when you're fully perfect, when you're fully loved, when everything is in order, when everything is, what you perceive as perfect. All right, because conditional healing keeps you in that conditional mindset and that conditional healing, it actually keeps you performing. It keeps you performing. And as long as you're waiting to be finished, right? As long as you're waiting for everything to be perfect, all right, then the life that you desire, right, will probably never be experienced. It probably will never be experienced. All right. And so we have to learn how to shift from this inner criticism to self-compassion. Okay. I had a client that said, I used to think I had to be healed before I could be happy. But when I started celebrating my progress, when I started to take it day by day, right? Even the messy parts of my life, and I started to accept that, what I realized is that I'm not waiting to be healed, that I'm already healed and I'm already healing. And I can find joy in that. And I want to offer you that on today, that you're already healing. Listen, self-compassion shows that studies show that self-compassion actually accelerates your healing process. So when you practice self-compassion, meaning being kind to yourself, even in the mess, even in the pain, right? That your nervous system will shift from threat mode, which is the sympathetic nervous system, to safety mode, which is the ventral vagal nerve. Okay. But when we are critical and when we judge ourselves, we actually become the threat. We actually create this idea that an enemy is there. And when we allow that critic to run in our mind, then we go into threat mode. You go into fight, fight, freeze, or fawn. All right. That's not happening on the outside of you. That's happening from what you are allowing yourself to believe in your heart, mind, and soul. Pain is inevitable. We're going to feel it. All right. It's going to happen. It's not the pain, it's what we learn to do with it. And healing is going to be a part of our journey. All right. So instead of running from our relationships, running from the life that we desire, because we don't want to get hurt, right? We don't want to experience any rejection. And so we will not go after our dreams. We will not love fully, right? We will sit, in the corner, all right? Because something we believed a lie that told us that you're broken, you're undeserving, or that thing happened to you and it hurt you. And because it hurt you, don't do that again because we don't want to hurt again. And it's just your nervous system trying to protect you. That's what it was designed to do. But your body was also designed to what? To restore you. It also was designed to, replenish you, right? Without you even asking. you know there's some blood on my mom's brain, and they're trying to get it off. But one of the things they said is that every day, right, every day there's this spinal fluid that the body naturally creates, that now, with the extra, that's the blood that she gets every day. And then it's the blood, that's the fluid that she gets every day, and then there's the blood. All right. She's not asking for that extra spinal fluid to come up, right? It's what the body is naturally doing so that the brain can work. It's so much happening in your body that you have no control over. It's healing itself, it's restoring itself. Why not build a different relationship with it? And why not go after our dreams? And why not love fully? And why not have a different relationship with ourselves, and, learn to love ourselves and forgive other people and give grace and have some self-compassion, right? So we can align with this mechanism, and so we can start to experience life differently and stop treating this healing process like it's a one-time deal. Like, I'm going to heal today, and once I'm healed, I'm never going back. And once I healed, I'm never doing that again. That's not how that works. Healing is a lifestyle. And it's something that can happen to you today that you're going to have to learn to heal from in the tomorrows. And it's something that happened to you yesterday that you're learning to heal from today. And then in 10 years from now, that same process is going to happen just to show as the sun comes up, just to show her as the rain falls down. You're going to have to learn how to make healing a part of your life. And you're going to be exposed to the elements. You're going to be exposed to the elements of life, the storms of life, the winds of life, the sunlights, the sun, the moon, every element. And it's a beautiful experience once we can allow it to happen. All right. Once we can allow it to happen. So put a heart in the chat. All right. If you like that, right? If you like that, as we go into our biblical wisdom on this morning, listen, our biblical wisdom for today is coming from 2 Corinthians 5:17. So therefore, if anyone is in Christ, The new creation has come. The old has gone and the new is here. So therefore, again, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come and the old has gone and the new is here. Listen, the interpretation of this is that this new creation has come. Notice it said has come. It didn't say will come. It didn't say once you're finished, right? It said has come. Listen, there is a divinity in you that understands your higher self, that understands that and that already sees the new. All right. Not when you're healed, right? Not when you're perfect, but right now it sees the new and it is prepping and it is designing itself and shaping itself for that new. Okay. And neuroscience actually supports this by saying when you practice self compassion, which is loving yourself even in the mess, all right? Because this is one thing, and I love the self love conversation and I love all of that. But we tend to only want to feel self compassion for ourselves when we're winning. You know, when things are good, God is blessing me. And I'm a blessed and highly favored when I'm getting the yeses, you know, and when the person pays for my coffee, you know, in front of me, you know, that's a message from God. And we only want to see that. All right. When the truth is, we have to have self compassion even in the mess, right? Even when, you know, even when the person is rude that's handing you the coffee, right? We still have to give ourselves some self compassion. Even when we mess up, we still have to give ourselves self compassion. All right. And when we're able to do that, your brain's prefrontal cortex, which is the wise brain, it actually activates. And when that activates, it creates what's called neuroplasticity. Your brain literally starts to wire itself towards healing. All right. It starts to wire itself towards healing. But when we're critical, all right, when we self critique, judging ourselves for not being there yet, judging ourselves for not uh, feeling like we're enough, judging ourselves for not getting over it, you know, for in some way being broken. And again, we're not broken, we're patterned. Even the way you deal with your hurt, right, is a pattern, is something you learned. All right. When we do that, the brain's amygdala, which is the threat detector, it actually stays activated. All right. And it stays active. And that in itself will keep you in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you guys, you just can't heal. And a lot of us is doing manifestation work and saying our affirmations and meditating, but your nervous system is still in fight, fight, freeze, or fawn. And so you're wondering, like, why is it not happening? Right, because you're judging yourself and you're being critical and you're looking at way more of what you need to be doing than who you need to be. And what you need to be is a friend of yourself. What you need to be is a person that's aligned in this healing process. What you need to be is a person who has compassion, right? And understands that you're human and you're going to make mistakes and things are going to happen to you and you're going to feel pain and you're going to feel happiness, you're going to feel sadness and you're going to feel joy and you're going to all of these things are to be experienced. All right. And one doesn't make you more worthy or less worthy because you're worthy as you are in all of them. All right. Does that make sense? All right. So basically, what this verse is saying is that you're not, basically, to sum this up in modern terms, you're not waiting to become new. You're already becoming that. All right. That transformation is happening right now, whether you are acknowledging it or not. Your body is healing. It's just waiting for you, right? Like a choir, right? Choir director, the sopranos, the voice is there. They got the lyrics. They know what to say, but they're waiting for the conductor to say, sing. Okay. And you are the conductor, right? And if you're keeping everything on mute, right, until you finish or until you feel like enough, that's a wait, you guys. That's a wait. And I want you to know your transformation is happening right now in the mess, in the middle, okay, in the healing. All right. You don't have to be finished or be perfect to be worthy of recognizing that healing is a lifestyle. All right. Um, so let's get into our intention. Okay. I want you to place both hands on your heart. All right. Take a slow breath, breathe in, exhale fully. This is our intention for our biblical wisdom today. I no longer need to be finished to be worthy of peace. I give myself permission to be proud of how far I've come. I honor my healing, my messiness, my unfinishedness, my in progressness. I am not broken. I am healing. All right. And healing is enough. Okay. And that is an ultimate shift, right? And that is what compassion looks like, you guys, on this morning. So I got to ask you a question. How does it feel in your body to know that you don't have to be perfect to deserve peace, that you don't have to be perfect to deserve healing? All right. How does that feel in your body? All right. So let's integrate this on this morning and put this into action. All right. I want you to write down. I want you to write down. I no longer need to be finished to be worthy of peace. All right. I don't need no longer need to I no longer need to be finished to be worthy of peace. I want you to list 3 areas where you can choose compassion over criticism today. And I want you to say this out loud. I'm proud of my healing, right? I'm proud of the messiness. I'm proud of the unfinishedness. I'm proud of the unpolished, right? And the in progress me. I'm proud of that. And even if the critic comes in and is like, are you really for real? That's not true. You just honor it, anchor it, and say it to yourself every day. Okay. And just remind yourself that in any season of my life, whether I'm coming into a storm, in the storm, or coming out of it, I am so proud of my healing. And I'm so proud of me. All right. All right. Because a lot of us are not giving ourselves credit for what we have been able to accomplish and what we have been able to get through and the resilience that we have. I ain't talking about being strong. I'm talking about resilience, right? Being able to get through it. All right. All right. Being able to get through it. So your journal prompt for today is, what part of you is still waiting to for permission to be proud of how far you've come? And then your audit for today. I've been waiting to be what before I gave myself peace. I've been waiting to be what before I gave myself peace. And then the progress I'm minimizing is what? Okay. And then 3 ideas. What's in that? What's in that? 3 ideas where I can choose compassion, or 3 areas where I can choose compassion over criticism today are what? And if I love myself in the middle of the mess, if I love myself in the middle of the unprocessed me, if I love myself in the middle of, of this pain, I would what? What would you do if you just had the courage to love yourself in this right now, in this thing you're going through? You woke up and you're like, and I still love you, right? What would you do? All right. Your affirmation for today: I no longer need to be finished to be worthy of my peace, you guys. And then your intention for today is your intention for today, I choose compassion over criticism. All right. It is self-love. Okay. Transformational Tuesday. I'm really hoping that this conversation ignited something in you where you could build a different relationship with your healing on this morning. If you want a bonus challenge today, your bonus challenge is every time you catch yourself saying, yeah, but when someone compliments you, so when someone compliments your progress, you stop. All right. I want you to replace that. I want you to replace it with thank you. And I'm proud of how far I've come to. I want you to stop and say, thank you. I am so proud of how far I've come to. All right. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it. All right. If you have problems with acknowledging that, okay, make sure you join the Project Life at sheetalittle.com/life. Okay. Where we have our weekly group labs. You get that accountability, you get that support. If you haven't already, make sure you invite a friend. We're talking about healing this week. If you know a person who is on this healing journey, who you feel like could benefit from this, please go to the top of your page and just invite them into the group. And if you want to get notifications, right, because you're not a part of the project, but you want to get notified about these life lessons, make sure you go over to the Facebook, to our social media page, YouTube, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at I Am Shaping Solutions. I Am Shaping Solutions. All right. If this session really resonated with you today, right, and you are walking away with some insight, I want you to drop a fire in the chat and let me know, and let's celebrate our growth together on this morning. All right. I'm gonna do that challenge, and that charge. And I'm calling, I'm asking, what truth are you walking away with today? All right. My challenge to you again is to write, I no longer need to finish to be worthy of peace. Right. I can accept healing in the middle of it all. I can be in the middle of it and still find peace. All right. I can have peace going in the storm, while I'm in the storm, and as I'm coming out the storm. Peace can be with me. All right. And then list 3 areas where you can be more compassionate with yourself. And you already know what the charge is every day, right? Go shape your life. Go shape your life, your love of self, your interactions with others, your focus, and your energy. Not by waiting to be perfect, you guys, but by honoring your healing when right now. Right now, right now. So, in closing, healing is not the finish line, it is a lifestyle. You don't have to be finished to be worthy. You don't have to be perfect to deserve peace. And you don't have to be there to be proud. All right. You don't have to be there, wherever that there is, to be proud. You're healing right now as we speak, in the middle, in the mess, and in the progress. All right. And that deserves to be celebrated. Tomorrow is Gratitude Shift Wednesday. We're talking about how gratitude is the heartbreak of healing. All right. Especially when we talk about toxic positivity in our interactions with others. So I'll see you there. Remember this, it's your motivation. You can love yourself in the middle of any mess. All right. Because that is where real transformation happens. So tonight, I want you to say this to yourself. I'm proud of my healing, my messy healing, my unfinished healing, my un my in progress healing. Listen, I'm proud of it because you're not broken, you're healing. And your healing, you guys, is a lifestyle. And hopefully this lesson disrupts the cultural narrative that healing, about healing, about healing, and that healing is this one-time act. All right. And if you ain't made it there yet, then you ain't healed. Healing is a lifestyle, and it's something that we take into our life every day. All right. And learning how to integrate the love of self into our healing process really, really is a beautiful thing. All right. Hey, I love you. I love you. I love you. I thank you guys again for your prayers. I thank you for your DMs. I thank you for your hearts. Thank you for all of that. As my brothers and I, my family, go through this process with my mom. So, but I want you to remember this. Remember that if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. Listen, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you tomorrow as we talk about interactions and Gratitude Shift Wednesday. All right. Till later.